Good morning, Father, Mother, God. I am so grateful to be here today and grateful for each and every person who came today. I know we all have been having an exciting weekend, and so being here is very special. I'm grateful for the talk that Sherri is ready to do this morning, speaking to us about freeing ourselves. I'm looking forward to this very much. And so as I stand here right now, I open my heart and I open my mind as I prepare to listen to Sherri's words of wisdom, letting go of everything else and putting myself right here, right now, in the moment, so that I absorb everything that's there for me. And so in deep gratitude, I just say thank you, Father, Mother, God, and so it is.
And so it is.
Amen.
Good morning.
Good morning.
If you're new with us here this morning, my name is Sherri Daughter, prayer practitioner in service to Mystic Heart. Let's begin our Taizé experience this morning with a couple of deep breaths. Letting go, settling in, fully arriving in this moment, and joining our voices in musical prayer.
Welcome home to your mystic heart. Lay aside whatever came before. Let your own intuition start to guide you to heaven's door. Welcome home to your mystic heart. Lay whatever came before. God bless you. Whee!
Sorry about that.
It's all good.
He's going to start it again.
Oh, you're going to start it again. Awesome. Okay.
Sorry about that.
Cut that scene. Here we go. Welcome home to your mystic heart. Lay aside whatever came before. Let your own intuition start to guide you to heaven's door. Welcome home to your mystic heart. Lay aside whatever came before. Let your own intuition start. To guide you to heaven's door. To guide you to heaven's door. To guide you to heaven's door. Okay. I am remembering who I am. 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 I am remembering who I am.
We settle more deeply into Taizé, sitting for a moment in the silence, sensing our oneness with our global community, envisioning a presence, an intelligence, a sentience, surrounding and infusing our planet, seeing and feeling ourselves to be filled to overflowing with that presence. Each of us, one spark, shining with Spirit's radiant light, acknowledging every human as an expression of that same light, each one glowing with the light of Spirit. Every creature, every plant, every rock and grain of sand, the soil, the water, the clouds and wind, the heavenly bodies, all expressions of the sacred, enlivened by the divine spark. There is no telling where my light ends and yours begins. We are one. Sensing our unity, we acknowledge our role as conscious, self-reflective beings. We commit to caring for one another, for all life forms, for the planet that sustains us. Rooted in our oneness, we center our hearts in our theme this month, free to be. And today we explore what it is to free yourself. Yesterday, millions of people across our country gathered to celebrate Independence Day. Flags waved, families came together, barbecues were lit. and fireworks filled the evening sky, reminding us of a remarkable moment in history when our nation declared its freedom 250 years ago. I find myself wondering if there is another kind of freedom that deserves just as much celebration. Not political freedom, not financial freedom, not even physical freedom. I began thinking about spiritual freedom, the kind of freedom the world can't give you, and the kind of freedom the world can't ever take away. It is the freedom of consciousness. What if the greatest prison isn't made of steel? What if it isn't political? What if it isn't even physical? What if the greatest prison is believing you have no choice? I invite you to sit with that question for just a moment because I think many of us have unknowingly handed away one of the greatest gifts Spirit has ever given us. We say things like, I have to. I can't. That's just who I am. My family has always been this way. That's my personality. And I don't have a choice. But do we? Or have we simply become so identified with our conditioning that we no longer recognize the quiet freedom that has always been present? One of the beautiful teachings of spiritual principle is that every person possesses spiritual authority. Spiritual authority is not domination. It is not power over another person. It is not getting our way. Spiritual authority is our inherent divine capacity to consciously choose the thoughts, attitudes, values, and actions through which Spirit expresses as our life. Sit with that for a moment. Spirit has entrusted every one of us with the sacred freedom to choose the consciousness from which we live. No one else can make that choice for us. Now, that doesn't mean life is always fair. It doesn't mean we choose every circumstance. It doesn't mean suffering isn't real. But it does mean that something within us remains forever free. Across the threads of the world's faith traditions, we find the same truth expressed in different ways. Jesus continually chose forgiveness over retaliation. The Buddha chose awareness over unconscious reaction. The Bhagavad Gita teaches us to act from our deepest self rather than from fear or attachment. The Tao invites us to flow with life rather than from fear or attachment. Indigenous wisdom reminds us to walk gently upon the earth, to live in right relationship with all our relations, and to make choices that honor not only ourselves, but the generations yet to come. Different languages, different cultures, different centuries. Yet they all point toward the same profound truth. Our deepest freedom is an inner freedom. One of the most extraordinary examples of this comes from Nelson Mandela. For 27 years, he lived behind prison walls. 27 years of someone else deciding when he would wake up, when he would sleep, what he would eat, where he would walk. Yet somewhere during those years, something remarkable happened. He realized that while others could imprison his body, they could not imprison his consciousness. They had authority over his circumstances, but they never had authority over his soul. Years later, as he walked out of prison, he understood that if he carried bitterness with him, he would still be imprisoned. His freedom began long before the prison doors opened. It began the moment he reclaimed his spiritual authority. Another beautiful witness to this truth is Viktor Frankl. While in prison during the Holocaust, Frankl observed that although nearly everything could be taken from a human being, one freedom remained: the freedom to choose one's response. Really take this in. Between what happens and who we become, there is a sacred space. Within that space, Spirit has placed freedom. Within that space, Spirit has placed choice. Within that space, Spirit has placed spiritual authority.
I invite you now to gently close your eyes. If that feels comfortable, and simply be aware of your breath. Without changing it, notice that each breath arrives as a gift. You didn't earn it. You don't force it. Life is already flowing through you. Allow your body to soften. Relax your shoulders. Unclench your jaw. Feel the support beneath you. There's nowhere to go and nothing you need to accomplish in this moment. Simply be here. Now bring to mind a situation in your life where you felt stuck. Perhaps you've been carrying a worry, a hurt, a disappointment, or an old story about yourself. Simply notice it without trying to fix it. Now, imagine placing that story gently in your open hands. Look at it with kindness, not judgment. Then ask yourself, is this story choosing my life? Or am I free to choose again? Take a slow, deep breath. Imagine that with each inhale, the presence of your beloved Holy One fills your heart with wisdom, courage, and peace. With each exhale, release the belief that you are trapped, powerless, defined by your past. Feel a spaciousness opening within you. In that spaciousness, there's no pressure. There is only invitation. Hear these quiet words spoken within your heart. I am free. Choose love. Choose forgiveness. Choose trust. Choose again. Rest in the awareness that spiritual authority has always lived within you. It has never left you. It has patiently waited beneath fear, beneath habit, beneath every old story. Allow yourself to rest in this simple truth. You are not merely reacting to life. The divine is expressing through you, one conscious choice at a time. Take one final deep breath, carrying this awareness as we take a moment of silence with this final question. From what consciousness will I choose to live this week? We open our hearts and souls now in deep receptivity as Sherri continues to share her divine gifts of presence and love, knowing that the more you open away for the imprisoned splendor, the more you free yourself.
During our meditation, perhaps you notice something that cannot easily be explained with words. Perhaps you noticed that there was a moment, a brief, quiet moment, when you weren't caught in the past, your future, or your circumstances. You were simply present. And in that presence, there was spaciousness. There was peace. And in that presence, there was awareness. That spaciousness is where our spiritual authority becomes available to us. I don't believe spiritual authority is something we acquire. I believe it is something we awaken to. It has always been there, quietly waiting beneath our fears, our conditioning, our old stories, and our habitual reactions. It is the divine presence expressing as us, continually inviting us to remember who we really are. One question has become so important in my own spiritual life. Whenever I find myself uncertain, whenever I notice fear beginning to take over, whenever I feel myself becoming reactive instead of responsive, I return to one simple question: what would love do now? And today I want to refine that even more to what would love choose now? And it's not what does fear choose, what does ego want, what does my old story expect, but simply, what would love choose now? That question doesn't always give me an immediate answer, but it always returns me to my spiritual authority. It reminds me that I am not merely reacting to life. I am participating in life. Freedom rarely arrives with fireworks. Most often, freedom arrives quietly in the moment that we realize that another choice is always available. Tomorrow morning, before we check our phone, before we listen to the news, before our minds begin replaying yesterday, life will quietly ask you one question: from what consciousness will you live today? Will it be fear? Will it be scarcity? Will it be judgment? Or will it be trust, compassion, and love? Every answer becomes your freedom. Every answer becomes your practice. Every answer becomes another opportunity for Spirit to express through you as you. Every moment of awareness becomes another step into freedom. Perhaps that is the deepest freedom we celebrate today. Not the freedom to control life, but the freedom to choose the consciousness from which we live it. Let's anchor these truths in prayer. Know this as true for you as I speak my prayer in the first person. I recognize that there is one infinite life, one divine presence, expressing itself as all of creation. This presence is freedom itself. It is love expressing, wisdom unfolding, compassion flowing, and life continually revealing more of its own perfection. There is nowhere that presence is not, and there is no one outside of it. Knowing this, I recognize that the same divine presence lives fully as each of us. We are not separate from Spirit. We are not victims of circumstance. We are expressions of infinite life, created with the sacred gift of spiritual authority. Within each of us lives the divine capacity to choose, to awaken, to respond with wisdom, and to allow love to guide our lives. Today, I affirm that every false belief that says, I have no choice, gently falls away. Fear releases its grip. Old conditioning no longer defines us. Limitation no longer tells our story. We awaken to the freedom that has always been present within us. We choose compassion over judgment, courage over fear, forgiveness over resentment, and trust over doubt. We allow the wisdom of Spirit to guide every decision and every relationship. We remember that every loving choice reveals more of the divine expressing as our lives.
If my words did glow with the gold of sunshine, and my tunes were played on the harp unstrung, would you hear my voice come through the music? Would you hold it near as it were your own? It's a hand-me-down. The thoughts are broken. Perhaps they're better left unsung. I don't know. Don't really care. Let there be songs to fill the air. Ripple in still water when there is no pebble tossed, nor wind to blow. Reach out your hand. If your cup be empty, if your cup is full, may it be again, let it be known. There is a fountain that was not made by the hands of men. There is a road, no simple highway between the dawn and the dark of night. And if you go, no one may follow. That path is for your steps alone. Ripple in still water when there is no pebble tossed, no wind to blow. You choose to lead, must follow. But if you fall alone. If you should stand, then who's to guide you? If I knew the way, I would take you home. La da da da, la da da da, la da da, la da, la da da da, la da da da, la da da da, la.
Yeah, I was just
Well
gonna.
done filling the awkward silence without a word.
I was just gonna say that. That was awesome.
Smooth as silk you are. Way to be, Reverend.
With a heart overflowing with gratitude, I give thanks for this sacred freedom. I give thanks that Spirit continually invites us to choose again, to love again, and to awaken again. I give thanks for this community and for every person walking with me on this path together. I know that each of us lives our spiritual authority. We become a blessing to one another and to the world. And so, with complete faith and joyful expectancy. I release my word into the creative law of life, knowing it is already accomplished. And together we say, and so it is. Amen. I invite you to bring your awareness gently back into this space, allowing your eyes to open, taking in whatever is before you, sending a little love to the beautiful beings sharing this time and space with you. As we prepare to close our Taizé meditation, we offer the opportunity for you to share of your financial good in support of the work we do. Circulation is a sacred practice that supports your mystic heart. It is by your generous gifts that we continue to do the good work of supporting you and engaging in the greater community. If you're joining us online at mysticheart.org, you can use the donate button, a Venmo QR code, or our mailing address to make your contribution. We thank you in advance for your heartfelt generosity. Lucinda, you can,
I'm gonna try and play it on my phone, but it's not gonna work.
yeah, you can go ahead and do it, and we just won't play music, and then we can close it.
Technical difficulties.
Mm-hmm. Just so grateful. So grateful for today. Grateful for each one of you here that got in, got up, got here, awake, bright, smiling faces, supporting. And for all of you online joining us. Just so thankful for your gifts. So thankful that I know that they are stewarded well. They are cared for. And they are thoughtfully placed into circulation. And so I know our gifts go out and come back to us. So with deep thanks, I simply release my prayer. And together we say, and so it is. Amen. Okay, so we're gonna go for this part. Now let us bless one another with music as we close out our Taizé with a soul's blessing.
I got you.
Yeah. If not, we know the words.
I know.
That's right.
Oh, look at that. Good work.
Look at that. Might just work.
May your soul always find what it's looking for. May your heart always lead the way. May you live in peace and harmony. And may love, sorry about the love, peace fill your day. May your path be strewn with happiness. May success find you everywhere. May you always embrace compassion and grace. And may God always answer your prayer. May you always embrace compassion and grace. And may God always answer your prayers.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Please let my words speak for you as I say, good morning, God.
Good morning, God.
It's me again, and I am so deeply grateful for each and every person here and for the ability to be here myself. I know that as I listen to Sherri talking and as I listen to the wisdom of each and every person here, I will get exactly what I need for my spiritual growth for the week, and I'm so grateful for that. And I know that we are technologically balanced and flowing smooth and easy for this service. And so I just say thank you, Father, Mother, God, and so it is.
So it is. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you. We all affirm that with you. Welcome back. Thank you for joining us this morning. And if you're new with us here today online, my name is Sherri Daughter, and I am prayer practitioner in service to Mystic Heart Spiritual Center. We are an independent interfaith community that teaches spiritual principle and practical spirituality, following the threads of truth through all of the world's great traditions. Our job is to point you inward to the wisdom that lives within your own mystic heart. Let's get our conversation started with some upbeat music and give our bodies a chance to move.
Feel free to move around if you want.
The voice from beyond.
I know, right?
Mystic heart, join the celebration. Lift your voice and sing your part. Make this affirmation. Spirit made us family with loving hearts to share. Together we are joyfully practicing the possible through prayer.
And everything's possible through
Welcome to the Mystic Heart. Everybody get up on your feet. See the light in everybody we meet. Everybody get up on your feet. See the light in everybody you meet. Let us be reminded of who we come to be. We are love, we are one big family. Hey, hey, yeah, yeah. Hey, 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 yeah, yeah. Let us make a joyful sound. Here we stand on holy ground. Let us make a joyful sound. Here we stand on holy ground. Let us make a joyful sound. Hey, 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 hey. Everybody get up on your feet. See the light in everybody you meet. Hey, hey, yeah, yeah. Hey, 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 yeah, yeah.
Pay attention to the words.
I thought God was only true in fairy tales, meant for someone else and not for me. Life was out to get me, that's the way it seemed. Disappointed, pondered on my dreams. And I felt your grace, now I'm a believer, not a trace. Doubt in my mind, God is love. Ooh, I'm a believer, I could believe it if I tried. I thought God was more like a give and take. Seems the more I gave, the less I got. What's the use in trying? All you get is pain. When I needed sunshine, I got rain. Then I felt your grace. Now I'm a believer, not a trace of doubt in my mind. God is love. I'm a believer, I can leave if I try. What the use is trying? All you get is pain. When I needed sunshine, I got rain. I felt your grace. Now I'm a believer, not a trace of doubt in my mind. God is love. I'm a believer, I can believe it if I try. Now I'm a believer, not a trace of doubt in my mind. Say I'm a believer, yeah, I'm a believer, I'm a believer.
That was fun. So just a reminder, my beloveds, to affirm our love-soaked world, when I say to these blessings, I want you to all say, we say yes. Got it? So let's take a deep breath. Move our hearts and direct our creative energies toward our vision of our love-soaked world, where all humans are living from their deepest wisdom and generosity, and their most loving nature, thoughtful of the impact their thoughts, words, and actions have on one another, the community, and the planet. A world without greed, where there is abundance in having enough, where nutritious food, clean water, and air are readily available to all beings, where warm, comfortable, and affordable housing is a given, where all beings feel a sense of safety, belonging, and contribution. To these blessings, we say yes. Woo! Ours is a world where mental, physical health, education, and healthy relationships are ensured by social systems grounded in integrity, honesty, and wholeness, where all beings work and play at whatever feeds their soul and are well compensated for their service, where authenticity and vulnerability are not only welcomed, but celebrated, where the peace we cultivate within ourselves shows up as a world free of violence, hatred, or indifference. Ours is a world where love that we are here to share is given freely to whomever our hearts are called to love, where we have moved beyond all lines of separation and live as one human family, caring for one beautiful planet with the reverence she deserves. To these blessings, we say yes. Whew, we're on fire. We recognize that transformation as an ongoing process, and especially in times of great change. People benefit from working, playing, and simply being together. And so this community stands as an open and welcoming place for all who seek support, belonging, and a sense of family. It redefines church as a place of self-discovery, authenticity, kindness, radical inclusion, and love. To these blessings, we say yes. It is by the power of the great mystery moving through each one of us that this prayer is acted upon, answered even as it's spoken. As one by one we live into and from this vision, it cannot be otherwise. And so it is with deep faith, profound gratitude, and great joy that I release my word to the one who gets it done. And so it is. Amen. We did awesome. Bringing awareness back to the body, to the room, and to this beautiful life, and to the amazing beings who share this space with us this morning, there has been a shift in energy. We have created a ripple of grace that has made an imprint of peace, love, and recreation. It is done, and you are a part of it. Doesn't it feel good?
Yes.
Yes. Our theme this month is free to be. And the topic of conversation this morning is free yourself. This morning's Taizé, we explored the idea that the greatest prison may not be made of steel or concrete. It may be the belief that we have no choice. I'd like to continue to explore that revelation. When I think about freedom, I realize that most of us immediately think about our circumstances. We think about having enough money, enough time, good health, healthy relationships, or living in a country where we are free to speak our minds. Those are all precious freedoms, and we should never take them for granted. But the wisdom traditions invite us to look even deeper. They ask a different question. What if true freedom begins long before our circumstances change? What if freedom is first an inner experience? One of the foundational teachings of spiritual principle is that each of us possesses spiritual authority. I love those two words because they shift everything. Spiritual authority is not authority over another person. It is not domination or control. It is not insisting that we get our way. Spiritual authority is our inherent divine capacity to consciously choose the consciousness from which we live. Think about that. Every single day we are making hundreds of choices. Some are obvious. Most are really invisible. We choose whether to remain offended. We choose whether to forgive. We choose whether to judge. We choose whether to become curious. We choose whether to trust. We choose whether to live from fear or to live from love. The interesting thing is that many of those choices no longer feel like choices because they have become habits for us. We react before we become aware. Someone says something that hurts us, and before we know it, we've already decided what it means. Or at least it's, am I alone in this? Because I definitely, thank you. Something unexpected happens, and within seconds, our minds create a story. We tell ourselves, they don't appreciate me. I'll never get ahead. Nothing ever works out. I've always been this way. Those stories become so familiar that we mistake them for reality. But are they? Or are they simply old choices that we have been repeating to ourselves so many times that they feel automatic? One of my favorite teachers, Reverend Michael Bernard Beckwith, often reminds us that we are not here simply to survive our lives. We are here to awaken. Awakening means becoming conscious enough to notice the moment before the old pattern takes over. That's where our freedom lives. I think that's what Viktor Frankl was pointing towards when he wrote that between the stimulus and the response, there is a space. And in that space lies our freedom. What a beautiful image that between what happens and how we respond, there's a space. Sometimes it's only a second. Sometimes it is only a breath. But in that sacred space, we remember something. We remember who we really are. Not our conditioning, not our fear, not our old story, not our ego trying to protect itself. We remember that we are expressions of the divine. And from that remembrance, we choose. That is spiritual authority. It is not about controlling life. It is about allowing life to express through us consciously. During Teze, I spoke about one of the questions that has become my central spiritual practice. Whenever I find myself feeling reactive or defensive or uncertain, I try to pause and ask one simple question: what would love do now? And I've refined it to be, what would love choose now? I've discovered that love almost always slows me down. Love helps me listen before I speak. Love helps me become curious instead of defensive. And love reminds me that another person is also carrying hopes and fears and wounds. Love reconnects me with my spiritual authority, and I've discovered that choice empowers me. The replacement of the word do with the word choose reminds me to linger in that liminal, sacred space. I love that word liminal, so I put it in there and then I couldn't say it. Yeah, liminal, sacred space between that initial stimulus and my response to it. It reminds me that I am making a choice and not necessarily doing anything. Some of my wisest responses are to remain sacredly silent. That took a long time to learn. Perhaps that's why I believe one sentence summarizes today's message better than anything else. The greatest prison is believing you have no choice. Because the moment we remember that another choice is possible, the prison doors begin to open. So now let's move into our interactive part of our conscious conversation with our first question to you.
Recording in progress.
Woo-hoo!
Thought I'd let you know that.
Good. So now we're moving into our more interactive part of the conscious conversation with our first question. Number 1, can you think of a time in your life when you believed you had no choice, only to discover later that you actually did?
Well, this is a huge, ongoing spiritual practice in my life. In my personal life, in my family, there are some very difficult situations. And I have had 2 beliefs. One is I have to move heaven on earth and earth to fix it. That's one belief. And the other belief is I can't have any peace or joy in my own life until I fix it. And both of those beliefs have caused me enormous suffering. And just this very morning, something popped up on my phone that activated both of those beliefs painfully. And I came back to the awareness, which I've been, particularly in the last year, I mean, in a sense for many, many years, but particularly in the last year, to remembering that I always have choice about my attitude. I always have choice to turn it over to Spirit. There are choices that I can make internally that will shift my experience without anything shifting out there. And I feel like Spirit has driven me into this because it's the only way that I can really move through life with the quality of experience that I want to have.
Very clearly expressed. Thank you.
It's hard to stop me from sermonizing.
It's okay.
Yeah.
It's great. That's why we do this, because we know the wisdom is in the room. Anyone else on that question?
I was, back in the day, I was one of those kind
trying to keep peace with everybody. It was, there was always chaos in the family growing up and that, and I was always trying to be the caregiver. It's okay, don't do this, come on now. And then I got married at 16, which was idiotic, but anyway. 29 years, it took me 29 years to finally realize I had a choice. I didn't have a choice, I didn't feel like I had a choice. But 29 years in that marriage, I had a choice.
Some people leave this mortal coil without ever realizing that, so
Yep.
I honor you.
Yeah. Well, I got the message growing up that it was my responsibility to make everyone else happy, no matter what. And I carried that into adulthood and into a lot of pretty risky behaviors, because, you know, I'm on record as saying I went wild, but God in his little 2x6, things
His little
kept
2x6.
ramping up a little bit more at a time till I got to a point where I was in a situation where I was thinking, well, if I could just clean things up a little bit better, you know, I wouldn't be hit. Or if I could just do this, or if I could just do that. And I was making it my responsibility that I was being hit, because I just must not be doing everything right. And then one day it was like, okay, I need to leave, or I'm going to be ending up under the ground. And on that day is when I realized that I had choices. And it took a long time to get to a point where I could make choices for myself. And I've had an awesome partner with that. But it's been a growing thing. I guess you could say it took me a lifetime to learn it, and it's taking me another lifetime to unlearn it.
Thank you. I feel like the second question has been answered in the first question, but I'm going to ask it and see if anything else pops up. Okay, so what old story or belief most tempts you to give away your spiritual authority? I feel like it was covered in the first.
You know, I always have more to say. There's always one student in the class who's like, I have one. You know, I grew up in very privileged circumstances. And in privileged circumstances, you're taught to believe that money solves everything. And in fact, money does solve certain kinds of problems, there's no question. And if you don't have access to the basics, you have really a lot of problems. But it does not solve the problems of making relationships work. It does not solve the problem of how people handle their pain, whether they go into addictive behaviors of many kinds or whether they don't. Even the addictive behavior of power over, trying to control other people so that they feel better themselves. So it took me a long time to realize that all of the access to resources that certain amount of financial comfort does provide doesn't really solve the problems you most need to solve. You have to go inward, you have to go to others, you have to go to spirit, or they won't get solved. And I've seen many people, you know, fighting it to the end as it works less and less well. Yeah. So I'm grateful, and that story still comes up. You know, if only I threw this much money at it. And it's not a true story. So that comes up, that there's some way to fix it that isn't about going into relationships, going into giving it to God, and going into releasing it. Yeah.
Yeah. I can see that too, of being somewhat of a Band-Aid.
Yeah.
Of having an apparent temporary fix only for spirit to call us deeper into no, that's not what, you know, we're learning on the planet, you know, that's not our call to, you know, here, and still getting the lesson.
Still getting the lesson.
Well, the one that I got was, it's safer to hide your light. So don't draw attention to yourself. So I found other ways to do it. But what I've learned is that I have a power, and it's okay. It's okay to let my light shine.
Yeah. Yeah. It's beautiful. I can relate to both what was shared, and what came up for me just now is there's an underlying not enoughness that whenever I go to pursue something new, I automatically assume I'm not qualified. That there must be some kind of education or some kind of experience or certification or whatever, you know. And, you know, Reverend Diana looks at me now and goes, "You're qualified." I'm like, okay, you know. And it's just taking that from here and really accepting it here. By asking yourself, what would love choose now? What do you think changes inside of you before you even make a decision?
Well, it's an invitation to move your ego out of the decision-making place.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that small sense of self and that willfulness, you know, I want this, I want this, I want this. So it's an opening to move into the larger self, the love that is at the center of our own being and the love in the universe. And it's an exercise in humility.
Mm-hmm.
It really is. And because there has to be a, I don't know. I don't know. Let me open to the larger love.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Well said.
It's an invitation to let go of any negative emotions I would be tempted to make a decision from.
Mm-hmm.
Especially anger.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just to choose love instead of war.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I have to admit, I don't always make the best decision up until now.
Another great lesson we've learned.
You might find this hard to believe, but I can be reactive.
Oh gee, really, you, Marsh?
Well, I've come so far that you don't see it in me anymore. But once I started not just believing, understanding, same thing, the power of, I'll just for the moment say energy in general, and the power of love as being a real thing, a genuine thing that can even be measured for those that might need that. It did change the way that I would approach, at least mentally, when I might be sending thoughts of not good stuff about somebody who did something that I felt was egregious towards me. And I have turned that around, and it's had an interesting consequence. If I have a chance to think about it, then I like using the word love bombs, because bomb helps me to relieve that part of it, but it's a love bomb. And so I'm finding anything I can find about whoever that person is, if nothing else but compassion and empathy for their position to make them such disagreeable people, whatever. And I try to send that forth, and so what I get back from that surprises me, because there'll be an attitudinal change so often. Now this isn't having a discussion in front of somebody. I haven't quite gotten good at that yet. I'm working on it. But if I have a moment to think before I start texting, or before I say, well, I'm gonna call, and that's when that kicks in. So at least that's happening, you know, and start understanding that in that space, I just need a bigger space. So I'm working on that happening in a smaller space, a smaller space of time.
Yeah. And that's perfect. I mean, I think that's what, you know, all of us experience, is how can I move that into that split second where I'm choosing how I'm going to respond.
Yeah, I mean, your upbringing has a lot to do with it, because if your ego protected you when you were young, it's hard to let that sucker go. And if your ego is also necessary for what you do for a living, different type of ego, but ego is ego is ego. Again, it's not always that easy, and that's the tricky part. Is trying to get that out of the way.
Yeah. And I love that imagery that we've spoken, you know, about throughout the years of ego, you know, still being with us in the car, but not driving.
Right.
And even, you know, it can be in the passenger, but even maybe in the back seat.
Yeah.
And it's okay to be with us, but not, you know, not to have control of the
That's right.
the radio and things.
That's true.
Lock it in the trunk.
Oh, that's great. Thank you. Who has modeled inner freedom for you? What did you learn from watching them respond to life? And this can be anyone, an author, a person in history, even a fictional character, of course, a mentor that has inspired you. I'll go Marsh first because I saw his hand.
This gives me a chance to address something else that was brought up in the sermon about spiritual authority. Because any kind of authority is one of those things that will strike me, you know, in a negative way. But the difference between, I'll say, an authoritative position is you listen to me because I am you know, a person of whatever. But the spiritual version of that is listen to me because I can give you better life. I'll give you a better life. And so, ironically or not, the people in spiritual history who have been leaders such as Jesus and Buddha worked outside of the religions that they were, I'll say, part of or associated with. They worked outside. They colored outside of the lines. And so they went, I'll say, against that type of, you know, patriarchal authority, whatever you want to call it, and yet are walking, talking spiritual authority simply based on their lifestyle. So in my own life, genuinely, the person that comes to mind, you know, is probably what everyone happens to think of, and that would be Reverend Diana and Chris, simply because rather than acting like they're above it all and feeling like they need to be someone they're not, they're two of the most genuine people I've ever met, full of all of the, you know, the frailties that we have, and yet how they put themselves forth in the world through their actions, which is more important than their words, even. Their words are obviously important, but, you know, but we already know the folks who pontificate and don't necessarily follow through. So I think that's what impressed, that's why I'm here. Because honestly, you know, we all have had our little background stories where religion is concerned, and there's not a whole lot of walking the walk going on in the real secular or religious world, rather. And so, yeah, those two to me, you know, that's it. I mean, you know, are they perfect? Nope, they'll be the first to tell you that, but they really, they actually are living it, you know, as best as you can as a human on this imperfect planet, or I won't say the planet's imperfect, but in our imperfect society.
Yes, well said. Yes. Reverend Diana and Chris, you are a living example of being a living example. Thank you,
Amen.
thank you.
Would y'all quit stealing my answer, please?
Cut it out.
Mine is from a slightly different perspective in that I have watched Diana lead a class. And when she has been directly challenged, a lot of times angrily, she is able to not act from an ego space. She sometimes lets the rest of the class answer first, and that's kind of a way of taking a breath. But she doesn't allow herself to get angry. She doesn't allow herself to add a response from a place of ego. And I've often thought, see, now that's a goal. I need to be able to respond from a place that's not ego-driven. And and I can see that's a freedom too. When you've gotten to a point where you don't have to do that.
Yeah.
And so I totally admire that. That's someone who has modeled freedom for me in that way.
Well said.
Thank you.
There are a few people in my life who have been important models for me, but when you said that, I thought immediately of when I was a young English teacher in a Catholic school, and Sister Mary David was chair of the English department, and I was 23 and she was probably 75. And she still wore the full habit, you know, the most sisters didn't in the 70s, but she did. But she said to me once, there is truth that is higher than Catholic truth or Jewish truth or Baptist truth. And that just blew the top of my head off. That she could be totally devoted to her path and know that it was not the only path. She could really affirm there are other valid paths, and this is the path I'm walking. And so to me, that capacity to be, this is how I'm doing it, and others also, quite and even completely differently. I just thought that was astonishing. And she had incredible integrity, and here I was, this, you know, I thought I knew everything. She let me create classes. Sometimes they went well, sometimes they didn't go that well. But she was open to, like, what could we do here that would be different? So now, at that stage of life, I still want to be open to, and so what could be different? What could I be learning now? You know, how could I be interacting with the world in a new way?
Thank you. As you think about the week ahead, where is Spirit inviting you to reclaim your freedom by making one conscious, loving choice?
I would have to say that would be every morning. Making a choice to start my day with gratitude. Making a choice to greet my wonderful partner in a happy way. That's the loving thing.
Thank you.
Well, I'm taking a trip this week to Ashland, Oregon, to the plays, and I'm taking 4 of my progeny, 1 daughter and 3 granddaughters. And this is something that's been expanding over the decades, and not everyone that I would like to be there will be able to be there. So a part of my opportunity is to just surrender to Spirit. This is where I am with the people who are able to be here. And also, and this is very important, not to make myself like the master of ceremonies of the show. You know, I have to make sure everybody's having fun every minute. Like, I need an afternoon nap, I really do. And so they'll be like, so you all do what you want to do, I'll go have my nap. And that'll be important for me to do. So it's good to remember that. I don't want to take on. I have to manage everyone's experience, I have to make sure. So just releasing that to spirit.
Yeah, yeah. And I love both those examples because on one hand, it's reaffirming those simple things of, how I want to live my life today. And then there's also going into a bigger thing with very clear intention. Yeah. I love that. As we listen to one another, something becomes really beautiful and clear. Freedom is rarely found in one dramatic event. More often, it is discovered one choice at a time. It is choosing patience when irritation seems easier, or maybe more on the surface. It is choosing forgiveness when resentment feels justified. It is choosing curiosity instead of judgment and hope instead of fear. Those quiet choices become the architecture of a free life. We often imagine that spiritual authority means having all the answers. I don't believe that. I think spiritual authority is simply trusting that the divine presence within us is always inviting us toward what is true, loving, and life-giving. We may not always hear that invitation perfectly, but we can always pause, become present, and choose again. Perhaps this is why I love the question, what would love choose now? It gently returns us to our deepest identity. It reminds us that we are more than our conditioning, more than our habits, and more than our past. Every conscious choice strengthens our awareness that Spirit is expressing as us, right here, right now. So as you leave today, remember this. Tomorrow morning, life will ask you that same question. From what consciousness will you live today? May we answer with courage, may we answer with compassion, and may we answer with love. And in doing so, we may discover that the greatest freedom has been within us all along. Let's close in prayer. I recognize one infinite life, one divine presence, expressing as every person, every creature, and all of creation. This presence is freedom itself. It is wisdom, compassion, creativity, joy, and love, forever unfolding. I know that this same divine life lives fully as each of us. We are not powerless. We are not abandoned. We are not defined by our past or limited by fear. We are expressions of spirit, entrusted with the sacred gift of spiritual authority. Within us is the freedom to choose the consciousness from which we live. I affirm that each of us awakens more fully to the truth. Fear gives way to faith. Blame gives way to responsibility. Resentment yields to forgiveness. Confusion is replaced with clarity. We choose thoughts, words, and actions that reflect the love, wisdom, and peace of the divine. I give thanks for this beloved community and for every opportunity to practice freedom in our everyday lives. As we reclaim our spiritual authority, we become instruments of healing, compassion, and hope in the world. Our lives become living demonstrations of the truth that love is stronger than fear. With deep gratitude, I release my prayer, knowing that it is already active, already unfolding, and already complete. And so we say together, and so it is. Amen. Take a moment to allow your awareness to return to your body, to this space, to this beautiful gathering. Welcome back. Thank you so much for joining me here today. We're going to bring this part of the morning to a close. But before we do, we'd like to invite you to join in the celebration of the work we do in the world by sharing of your financial good. If you are at home, you can go to mysticheart.org to use our donate button or to find our mailing address. We also have a Venmo QR code. We are an independent, self-supporting organization, and your financial gifts are what make it possible for us to do our work and provide this beautiful, safe space. We thank you in advance for your generous hearts and gifts. We acknowledge and give thanks for the abundance of spirit moving through you. Please enjoy our offertory music, Already Gone by the Eagles. Some of you went to the Mosquito Serenade last month. And you enjoyed the Eagles cover band, and I felt this song would be relevant for us today, especially for the third verse, which is my favorite. Well, I know it wasn't you who held me down. Heaven knows it wasn't you who set me free. So oftentimes it happens that we live our lives in chains, and we never even know we have the key.
Well, I heard some people talking just the other day, and they said you were gonna put me on a shelf. But let me tell you, I got some news for you, and you'll soon find
now, please join us for our closing song. Hit it, Marsh.
All gathered hand in hand, see the light, we take a stand as we are changing. All new life for you and me, take the path and set it free and share this blessing. Love be with you, peace enfold you, spirit lift you, breathe again. Truth come through you, make joy flow through you, let joy renew you until we meet again. Love me with you. Ooh, 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 love me with you. Love me with you. Love me with you. Ooh, love me with you. Love me with you. Love me with you. Love me